Think about it for how you charge shipping. Do you charge shipping, free shipping, no matter what for your repeat customers? Could that increase LTV and add more net profit and get more of them to go from buying within a 90-day window to a 45-day window? These are the little tweaks that you have to take, not just on the front end, but also on the back end.
And now, let's take a listen to the Scalability School podcast. Welcome to episode 5 of the Scalability School podcast, building offers that actually move the needle. What's up, guys? Good to be with you.
What's up? You're back from another side of the world a little bit here, aren't you?
Back from Dublin. Turns out traveling without your kid is insanely easy once you've traveled with a kid. So,
Great.
Yeah, good. Just flying, listening to tunes the whole time. Nobody needed anything. Got to see a lot of founder members, and yeah, it was sick. It was a lot of fun. Always good to get everybody together.
I'm taking both of mine to Mexico in 2 weeks, so I'll let you know how that goes.
First, well, today we're talking about offers that actually move the needle. A lot of people talk about offers, and Zach was actually the first person that said to me many times that offer is just absolutely not talked about enough, and how much it can actually change things for a brand. And since then, we've kind of been riffing on it. So today, that's what we're going to be sharing is sort of all of the tactical stuff that we know on what it does, like what you can do with an offer to make it really special. So, Brad, right out of the gates, start with a home run offer that changes the trajectory of a brand. Like, first of all, like, why are offers important? Let's just start there. Tell me about some of your offers that have really crushed and how you've started to think about this.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we spent a lot of time. I mean, we had an episode or two ago talking about creative and how creative is such a big lever, and I think offers probably fall into a similar level of value and what it can do for a brand. And there's not as many. There's just not a ton of levers that have the capability to really change the trajectory. So I'm going to do a little bit of a teaser here, and then we'll kind of break things down a little bit further. But we have a client of ours that we've been working with for several years. I'll be somewhat vague here, but they sell a consumable product. You can call it snack bars across a bunch of different flavors. And just to give you a sense of what an offer can do, this functionally the only change that we've made year over year was continue to manipulate the offer. And this year so far, they're up like 250% year over year in new customer revenue, largely driven by a 40% increase in AOV, and just by coming up with an offer. So I can be more specific about what the actual offer was if you guys want to get into it right away.
Yeah,
but
let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah,
kind of talk about what it was, like the cadence of the changes, how frequently you changed it. Talk about that. Might as well.
totally.
I'm hooked
For sure.
So
good. So when we over the last couple of years, over the last year, we've kind of manipulated this a little bit. So it originally started with they sold individual like flavor packs, meaning you could buy, call it 10 of these bars in one pack. And from my perspective, if you're going to commit to a full 10 pack of bars, that's a pretty big commitment, especially if you don't know if you're going to like the flavor. So the first thing that we thought was, hey, why don't we build out a variety pack, which I think probably sounds like common sense for the average person, but I'm sure there's brands out here that sell multiple flavors of something. Like if you sell a consumable product that has flavors and you don't have a variety pack in most cases, I think you're probably missing out. Maybe you can make an argument that like pre-workout shouldn't be sold in variety packs for the different flavors. But I'm saying if you have individual servings of a product, I would highly recommend considering a variety pack because it's just a way that people buy, right? They want to buy, find the flavor that they like, and then they're going to come back and buy more.
are you doing like 8 packs and 4 of them? Is that what is that how, sorry, maybe I'm jumping ahead, or is it like you're replacing a normal 8 pack that's all one flavor with a variety pack? I'm curious on that.
Great question. So basically what they originally sold was you can buy any one of their, call it 6 flavors. You get 10 bars in that box. Then what we switched it to is we can get one of each of the flavors. The problem with that, and this was kind of the initial transition was, okay, great, you get a box of 6 bars as a variety pack, but if you think about the AOV of that, it's extremely low, which can work, but because it's kind of an LTV play, but it can make acquisition really tricky if you're playing in the I need a sub $20 CAC, like you tap out pretty quickly on what you can afford in the market you can go up to. So the next thing that we did before we even got to like really introducing kind of like any crazy discounting piece of this was just double it. So you get 2 bars of each flavor, and then we functionally double the price of that. And the way that we justified that was, and this is where the real unlock came, was we said if you buy just one box of two bars, or 2 bars per flavor. So like, let me do the math here. It's if you buy one box of 10 bars, call it, you get 20% off, which is fine. But if you buy 2 boxes, you get 40% off. What we found is like 85% of people just go for the doubled up offer to get the 40% off. And that's kind of that unlock is kind of what led to that 250% year-over-year increase in new customer revenue.
Curious. So backing into the offer, why does it work, right? If AOV goes up, doesn't necessarily mean it's good for the business unless your cost of traffic, your conversion rate, your CPA stay in line. So like, how did that get affected, even though you punched up AOV by 40%?
Yeah, so with the higher AOV, we had the ability to actually like afford more in CAC. And I've found this, I'm curious if you've seen the same thing, but I've noticed that when AOV goes up, it's almost like you unlock new bounds of spend inside of like Meta for this case. It's just like you become available to so many more people because you can afford that. And that doesn't mean that every single purchase is going to necessarily be profitable, right? They might be losing money on the people that end up only buying one version. You know, the 20% off offer, they might not actually make money if somebody does that, but it blends out to be enough if they take the 40%.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely opens it up, right? I mean, the thing that strikes me about what you're talking about is so much of offers is absolute just consumer psychology like stuff as well, right? It's you know, if I'm going to buy one box, I'm going to take a risk. Why not buy two and get 40% off? It's like my mind goes to the phrase of like, yeah, we can get through those. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
Which makes
Exactly.
sense. Like it's like, yeah, I can get through a couple boxes of those. If not, if I don't like certain flavors, I can give them away. Like you're not going to hate all the flavors. Right.
Yeah.
I wonder what would happen
And
if you literally messaged like with it, like you're not going to hate every flavor.
that's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
Buy more, save more. You're not going to hate everything,
You'll
everything that's
have
in
to
there.
like something in here. You'll have to like something in here, right? No, that's a great point. But I think like, so backing up and kind of breaking down each of those kind of like steps that we took, it was okay, first like thinking about how people want to consume this consumable product. Like they don't want to over commit to something they're not sure if they're gonna like. Great. So we got a variety pack set up for them. Sounds like a no-brainer, but some people still aren't doing that. And then it's just like figuring out how can we combine this thing? How can we incentivize maybe buying more so that way they lever up and increase their AOV?
The biggest thing that we've learned, not just for Hollow, not for our other brands, but like a lot of homestead clients, is people, brand owners inherently think people aren't going to spend this much money on my product. They're like, there's no way someone spends $80 on bars of soap. Like our AOV is $35. They will. They will. And the chance that you actually create an offer that's strong enough that they feel like the value, which we talked about like with David Herman, getting the value to be as punchy right now, knowing like consumer segment is maybe a little bit down, is kind of like the sweet spot. So not only are you pushing up AOV, then that gives you more ad dollars to spend, which means like even if you can keep your conversion rate relatively the same, cost of traffic relatively the same, like you have a pretty good chance of like producing more contribution margin. So I think that that's the other side of it, is like we like to push people to say, hey, get outside of your comfort zone with this and like really try to sell them more of it. But the way that Brad just explained, I feel like is a perfect way that actually makes sense. You can't just force people to buy 20 of the same sock for us for Hollow, right? Like we're bundling a bunch of things together. The more products we drop, the bigger our bundles can be and the more unique they can be. And I think that that's kind of like the sweet combination of both.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you just said is that value, right? And talking about like what is an offer beyond discounts of the value constructs of perceived benefit, positioning, emotional safety are really big. You know, we think of offers many times as discounts only, but I think rethinking it through like an idea of a value stack. So examples of what are the offer examples? I mean, obviously bundling is one. What are the other ones that you guys see that have worked really well?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different options, and they probably even cross pollinate and can be used in a bunch of different ways. So I'll just rip through a bunch of different examples and then talk about maybe why we like some of these. So gift with purchase is pretty straightforward. They buy, maybe they need to hit a certain card value. A bunch of ways you can play with this, but they buy, they get something for free. Bundling is basically just like trying to get them buy more, maybe of the same thing or a combination of things that go well together. Subscription incentives, pretty straightforward. Urgency and scarcity, so just kind of like the phrasing around it, and like you can only get this for a limited time, which I think that's probably a slept on one a little bit. Even the guarantee aspect of it, where hey, 30-day money back guarantee. Like if you go to a website right now in any D2C darling, go to Hollow, like there's a 99-day money back guarantee. Yeah, like it's there, and I think a lot of people just like forget that that's really valuable for customers because they're trying to avoid. There's like some loss aversion thing probably in there, and then free shipping, and so across all of those, and we can go into specific examples whenever you guys are ready to do that. But I'm a huge fan of like, how do we increase the perceived value of this thing as opposed to doing discounts straight up? Now you can do both, where you can try to stack and bundle things up and do gift with purchase, and then you can also add a discount on top of that. But I think what people forget is like the cost of your product can be cheaper than $1 or percentage off the top, depending on how you do it, right? So if it costs me, I don't know, I probably shouldn't do public math here, but like if you're going to offer a 40% discount, like what you could probably give away, a lot of people could probably give away 2 of their product and still be cheaper than taking that margin off the top. And I think that's why I always try to lean towards like gift with purchase and bundling ones, because I think the perceived value can be really strong with those.
Yeah. So when it comes to offers for us, Brad, I think like some of these examples are really relevant, right? So for our brands, we were trying to like mix potentially gift with purchase, with bundling, with other things, with scarcity, with guarantees. I think this sweet spot of a really good offer is not just taking like one of those and trying to combine a bunch of them together that still makes sense for your margin. So for Hollow, like we just had a pretty big win in the last week. We have run a buy more, save more concept for a long time. This has been something that we've done for years. FTC regulation is okay with a buy more, save more offer, kind of being evergreen as long as you're not like considering it a sale period. That's kind of like the sweet spot. And if you are, it has to be relevant to a specific product during that sale. So for those people that are interested in running that, it's definitely an option to do, and you can run it all year round, without any issues, as long as you kind of set it up that way. Now, for us, the big unlock that happened in the last week was we were selling basically 2 pairs for 10% off, 4 for 20, 6 for 30, 8 for 40% off. And we pushed those all up by 2 units. And we pushed up our free shipping threshold from buying 2 pairs to get free shipping to 4 pairs to get free shipping. So now it's 4 pairs for 10, 6 for 20, 8 for 30, 10 for 40, and push up our free shipping threshold. The crazy thing is, new customer CPA went down 10%, AOV went up 16%. So like the net change is pretty wild. And what we realized is we were looking at the percentage of customers that were buying less than four units, basically 1, 2, or 3 units. And that it was like 40% of our orders were people buying 1, 2, or 3 because they could get 10% off and they could get free shipping. Like, screw it, we're going to push that up to 4 and see what that happens. So we got a little bump from AOV there. And then we also pushed up the discount offer to make it even a little bit more challenging. The crazy thing is, once we were looking at the top sold combination of products, we found out that like people were more incentivized to now buy 6 pairs for 20% off and get free shipping, and the discount felt proportionally bigger because they were actually getting a bigger number off than what they were used to on average, and it was still falling below $100, which is kind of that sweet spot for us from an impulse purchase standpoint. So now we went from having 40% of our customers buying 3 or less units to now having 40% of our customers buying 4 units. Just absolutely shifted the dynamic of consumers and how they shopped our site. And for us, we didn't really care about this because we're pushing growth. We're still pushing 70, 80% every single day is new customer revenue. So these are people that are usually seeing the site, seeing the offer for the first time. And I think a lot of brands are afraid. They're like, oh, well, my existing customers aren't going to like this. If you're trying to grow your business, the biggest case there is that you have 70% probably plus of your revenues coming from new customers. So I think like this is just like fundamentally feels like it would be the opposite. It's like, oh, we're going to push up margin, maybe AOV goes up, but new customer CPA climbs as well. But because the dynamic where customers were buying then the most frequent thing that still kept them under 100, and they got free shipping, and the discount seemed more dramatic. It was $20 off that they were saving versus just like $4 off that they were saving. That combined, I think, is what got it to unlock.
Something really interesting in there is like you kind of took like a really big bucket of, so if you were to like graph out your AOVs, or maybe not AOVs because that's average, but if you graphed out your order values in like a histogram, I think you can see like the different buckets that people fall into. And something that I'm actively trying to convince a client to do, because they're worried that if they lower their threshold on discounts, that people will be less incentivized to go up. But it's like they have a bucket of people that spend less than $40, and it's the biggest bucket by far. So I feel
Yep.
like we actually talked about this on a separate call. This just the two of us is like, what are these like, trying to find these like big pockets of like, okay, the top of a landing page. Most of the people see this, but it's like in this context, it's how do I get the 80% of people that are only spending $40 to go up? It's like, yeah, you might lose some off the top end. You might get less people spending $300, but man, there's so many people in that smaller bucket that if you push them up, it can make a huge difference to AOV. So
And
anyways,
that's what did it for
side.
us. Yeah. I mean, like I mean, on the top end, I think the average customer that's buying 10 pairs is like spending, what is it? $180 or something like that, I think is what we just pulled the data on. But that 40% of our customers, which is the biggest block of any one of those phases, was sub 10% discount and free shipping. And we're like, okay, push them up. Like let's get that threshold up. So I'm really glad we did it. Obviously, it's ripping, so thankfully it worked out. These are not always things that pan out, but I always like to that same point. I think brands sometimes say, "Oh, this will never work." Like sometimes you gotta just try shit, um, because you honestly don't know. You don't know the weird unlocks that will happen and the dynamic that might happen. Like for us, that we would have never guessed until we looked at the data after the fact. So
Yeah. How did you roll it
Yeah.
out? Did you just like rip the Band-Aid and let it rip, or
full
test
send,
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
full
Okay.
send. It was just too big of a change. It was too big of a
Yeah.
change to
You
do with
can't
a like an
you can't test it
intelligence
all.
A/B test that we were just like send it. And then yeah, weekend over weekend. That's what those comps are. Is new customer CPA is down 10% weekend over weekend. This is last weekend, and AOV is up 16, and it's holding.
So we've talked a lot about bundling and the things that you guys have done with bundling. I think obviously there's the other types of like gift with purchase or subscription or free shipping. We're doing a combination of talking about free shipping a little bit as well. I feel like if you can, subscription is like absolutely such an incredible way to grow. Obviously supplements are standard for this, right? Lowering the CAC by pulling the LTV forward with those initial subs. Like, what other examples have you seen? Because I would say of the founders community and the people, like the brands that I'm aware of, and the brands or agencies that I'm aware of, a lot of it is absolutely bundling. And I haven't seen a ton of success with gift with purchase. Free shipping sometimes can be great, but it's not like a massive unlock. I'd say if you can do scarcity, that one is a really big one. Especially if it's like a scarcity of how many left or like a limited run product, that does incredibly well. Like think about Jenny Lynn from Snarky Teas. Like basically all of the teas she releases are limited run. That's it. Like they don't run them again. What other things have you guys seen that's really been like, oh yeah, that's a really good one, or I think more people should try this?
For subscription brands, I think the biggest thing, and I think what your goal should be, is figuring out like, do you have the financial model to be able to spend more to acquire that customer, right? Actually understand your LTV of it, of that customer, and like what the cohorts look like. So I think that's like first before you really dive into like offer testing. Second, I think a lot of these subscription brands can punch up their one-time purchase price and try to optimize the discount on the subscription. So similar to the buy more, save more, FTC regulation has no issues with you discounting for subscription. So that discount for subscription can be as big as you want it to be, really. And if like you can start to play with that discount on subscription, that's where you might be able to get some unlocks where, hey, maybe you drop your AOV below $70, below $50, and that brings your CAC way down. And then it's like your basically repayment rate speeds way up because now you're not spending $100 to acquire a customer on subscription. So that's been one that we've seen for homestead clients kind of across the board that seems to work quite well if you really do the math and pay attention to it.
Yeah, I will just. This is a painful anecdote for me. I don't know if Dan from Create will be upset with me saying this, but like a couple months into him starting that business, we like considered investing and we passed because I did not value subscription in the way I should have valued subscription, and that was like the only reason. Is like I looked at the numbers and I was like, this is great, but like, I don't know that your numbers are all going to back up from an LTV perspective. And I was 100% wrong. And I regret it every day. But you're right about understanding that aspect can like fundamentally change how you look at the economics of your offers.
Yeah. And I mean, like we have some homestead clients that are now doing, like mid 8 figures MRR that have figured out this math, right? So they've gotten to the point where they're like, hey, you know what? I can actually lose $100 on my first purchase, $50 on my first purchase because, my CAC to LTV is this model. And as long as I'm not spending so much into it that it will actually start back out by month 3, that's kind of where the sweet spot happens. And I think if you have subscription and you have a subscription base, like I think that that's something that you should definitely try to play around with more is like how much are you willing to discount that first order, which should in theory bring down the cost to acquire a customer. And as long as you're triangulating those two with your repayment time, that's kind of where like the secret sauce and like a lot of special stuff comes up.
I mean, so much of it is like building the stack of all of these things. Brad, we were talking about AG1, obviously example that we D2C darling we can look at, but obviously subscription, monetary discount, welcome kits or freebies, or like freebies that come with a welcome kit, free shipping, money back guarantee, right? So it's all of that. Like, how do you sort of consumer psychology wise make it like really hard to say no? To be like, even if you're mildly interested, it's like, well, I can try this. And it's like, even if I'm getting all this other free stuff with it. It reminds me of back in the day, my mom actually bought Miracle Blades, knives off of the TV. I don't know if you guys remember these. But like every 2 minutes, they would just be like, and if you order now, you get another Japanese, you know, knife. And then if you order now, you get a bread knife. And like my mom still has those knives for what it's worth.
I'll give you guys and the listeners, people on, subscription brands, just like one little hack that I think is really interesting too to test. You could call it offer testing. You could call it just part of like the funnel testing. For a client, we started running this, but only offering free shipping on the first subscription. So the thought is, hey, I'm going to get my first subscription. They say, hey, I get free shipping. Great. I'm pretty sure Create or Groons runs this. I don't remember who it was that I saw it with as well. Maybe I'm like giving away a little bit of their secret sauce, but we did it for a homestead client before I saw it for what it's worth. And we know that the churn rate, even with that, didn't really drop at all for this client. And it was just like starting to then add another $5-6 per order per month and just extra revenue that you were just basically writing off completely and taking the hit on. So I think like the other side of this too is like, if you're a subscription business, think about the offer in sequence. It's not just the first offer. It's like other things like how do we charge for shipping? Do we increase shipping over time? Do we decrease shipping over time? Do we add in free gifts with like the second rebill, the third rebill? These types of things can definitely have a big impact on the LTV and the growth of LTV.
Well, and there's pieces to this, obviously. And so how do you go through? Is it like big swings first? Like, what's the process of it? Like, okay, we agree on an offer. Here's kind of like how are we rolling it out and testing it? And how are we using like a A/B testing tool as well to understand significance and stuff like that?
Great question. So I actually, it starts a little bit before clients saying yes. So I think we pull up, I keep a spreadsheet that's just like a unit economics calculator, and it just we put the different scenarios kind of side by side. It's basically like here's offer number one. It's the buy two get one. Here's the buy two get two. Here's the free shipping. Here's the whatever versions. It's putting all of those things side by side and understanding what does success look like. Meaning we need to understand, like, do we think, and this is to Zach's point a little bit earlier, it's like, do we think it's even possible to achieve this CAC or this ROAS number with this offer? Because if I need a 7x in order for me to like break even and I have no LTV, terrible offer, like not worth pursuing. So we start with just like throwing it in a unit economics calculating spreadsheet and just like, okay, what does CAC need to be in order for this to be worthwhile? That's like step number one. The point I was going to make to Zach's point earlier is like, sometimes I look at that and I'm like, this is not going to work. This is like, this just doesn't make sense. And then we try it and we're like, okay, it worked. It was fine. Like, we just need to chill out of that.
Yeah, I mean, we do the same thing for what it's worth. Like homestead clients for the brands, like we're running just like models on the offers all the time, right? Because I think that that's to my point, 10% lowering new customer CPA, 16% increase in AOV, like that is worth it for your business dramatically to try and actually like take these big swings. But you have to run the math on it first. So for us, we were willing actually to increase new customer CPA. Our goal was to increase AOV by $10 and increase new customer CPA by 10%. So like we set the predestined outcome and then we're like, okay, let's send it and see what happens. And that was still going to back out to more contribution margin and more net profit per order, even with those results, which is like new customer CPA was going up, not down. So I think like that's doing the math before you take the big swing is absolutely necessary.
Okay, so let me ask you a dumb math question. So like so let me just be clear. I never scored anything above a C in any math course I ever took. Okay, so it's like why I'm asking this. How do you do the math on a payback period on something you haven't ever tested to that cohort?
So we're usually using like an aggregate of the payback. So are you referring to like an OTP product or a subscription product? Both?
Yeah, I was thinking it's a subscription product.
Sure. So we're usually baselining it against like what we have now, right? And then we're basically figuring out. So let's just use. I'm just going to run some quick. I'm going to do math on the top of my head just because that's fun. So let's assume that you're selling a product for $100 on subscription with discount. Maybe it's one-time price is $150. There's an expensive supplement. I don't know what it is, but $50 off. Great. What we're basically trying to figure out is, okay, if I sell this product and I'm losing $20 on the first order, which means like whatever, COGS are $40, OpEx, all this stuff, it ends up being a loss of $20 in the first order. We're figuring out then, okay, if 50% of the people come back and buy it again the second month, how much margin do we still have left? And that is kind of what our repayback period is, right? Might be 2 months, might be 3 months, might be 4 months, might be a 90-day window. You might do like a quarterly subscription. That's kind of the sweet spot that gets you there. Then what we're doing is we're saying, okay, if we're discounting it from 150 down to 100, what are we willing to lose? And what is new customer CPA in that range? If we cut the price by 66% and we drop it all the way down to $50, what does that do to our new customer CPA? And does the aggregate of dropping the AOV down, which is like just crushes your margin, but also could completely crush your CPA, does the net loss of doing that actually benefit you more or less? Right. So that is kind of how we think about it. And that's how we do the math to figure out specifically for subscription brands, how much can we compress the original margin and how much can we compress the CAC by just lowering AOV? Because there's a direct correlation from CPA to AOV.
So it's
also
projection based. I'm just saying if a brand's listening to this, a 7-figure brand, there's or an 8-figure brand, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, like whatever. I want to try this, but they've never done it. It's
Sure.
just
I mean,
projections. It's a guess to some degree of like we think
100%.
50% of people are going to do this. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
that so I didn't know if there was some like baseline or like some sort of like how are there's some framework that I was
the
unaware of.
I mean, not really. Again, the biggest thing here is like I think this is where a lot of people just like are afraid to try because it's kind of unknown, right? So part of getting these big unlocks and these big wins is being willing to take the swing and go do it. I was talking to a brand that doesn't run subscription. They're in the pet supplement space. I was like, you guys got to start running subscription. They were basically running this whole funnel where they were trying to push the craziest, highest AOV possible because they knew that if they kept like their CAC under 150, they'd still have margin at the end of the day. They were trying to stay first purchase profitable. And I'm like, actually, if you lower your AOV from 250 down to 50 on the first purchase and you set them up for success and you sell them a product that they're going to use every single day, your LTV in your payback window, maybe a 30-day or 60-day window. So you might torch some cash for 30 to 60 days. But that, as long as the churn doesn't fall off a cliff, you may print more money than what you are right now, just trying to sell this crazy high AOV one-time purchase. This has me completely like, once we started diving into these numbers and kind of this model, this has me completely thinking, even rethinking like the sock business and things that we're doing like that, where it's very one-time purchase, very heavy. So I will give a little bit of a, this is definitely something that we're working on right now. We haven't launched it yet, but I'm pretty stoked on, is we're basically trying to take the concept of, okay, what am I willing to lose money on to get a customer that's a normal one-time purchase customer for Hollow, sock buyer, 120 AOV now, right? How do I get them back to buy more frequently? And we're basically stacking discounts and stacking free gifts when they go from one purchase to two purchases to three purchases, three to four. So I'm willing to take another hit on my margin as long as I can guarantee that I can get more of them back for the second time or the third time. So it's kind of like the waterfall effect, just like a subscription business would work, but you're treating it like you are with a one-time purchase,
Well,
mostly
yeah, it makes
business.
sense because like if somebody's gonna order from socks from you the third time, like
Yep.
now we're in VIP. Like send them a
40,
freaking sticker.
right. 45% of our
It's
customers that buy
crazy.
3 times come back and buy a fourth time within a
Yeah,
year.
like
So it's like guaranteed almost
they're
at that
in.
point.
Like send
Yep.
them
So
a license plate, frame, like
this
everything.
Yeah, this is where I think there's a lot of room for a lot of brands that are stuck in that like 5 to 10 million because they're just stuck trying to acquire new customers all the time. They're not putting enough energy into saying, what would I actually be willing to lose to get one of my current customers that I've acquired for the last 3, 4, 5 years to come back and buy again? They're like, I don't want to run ads to them. I don't want to run remarketing to them. I don't want to do these things. Come up with an offer to get someone back in your business. And as soon as you get them back for a second time, the chance they go up to buy a third is more likely. You get them third time, chance to buy a fourth even goes up more. So
Yeah.
I think this is where offers aren't just on the front end. Like, think about it for how you charge shipping. Do you charge shipping, free shipping, no matter what for your repeat customers? Could that increase LTV and add more net profit and get more of them to go from buying within a 90-day window to a 45-day window? These are the little tweaks that you have to take, not just on the front end, but also on the back end.
Yeah, and you can was something that we've done several times, and maybe it's not as clever as I'm making it up in my head, but like I know people do like the VIP offers for people who have purchased, and it's like if somebody is already bought from your business, you pay to acquire, as you've kind of you're alluding to, you can afford to be more aggressive on the discounts to get them to come back and buy again. Whether it's you give them a higher percentage off, you throw in the free gift, is all these things that you're kind of alluding to. And if you're not comfortable running a retention campaign on Meta, which we talked about in episode 1, it's like then send them an email and offer them a more aggressive discount than you think you can get, and say it's exclusive to them. Say like, we don't offer this to everybody else, so when you go to the website, you're not going to see this. This is only for you. That
Yep.
messaging is crushed for us.
Yeah, we're doing that now. It's rolling out in like the next week or two. Custom discount code for your second purchase, and then a custom discount code for your third purchase that even levels up even more. No, the last point I was going to make is one thing that I think a lot of people don't look at also is the AOV by returning customer. So like for us, it's like it was historically L365 $85 new customer AOV. When we look back in 365, $85. Second purchase was 95. Third purchase was 110. So it's like they're coming back and buying more and more and more. So if you're only getting 15% returning customer rate or 25% returning customer rate within a 1 year period, if you can double that, who gives a shit? Lose 10 more dollars on the sale, right? So I think that's where there's so many unlocks to be had when we're so focused on like running ads, trying to get new people in, trying to get new people in. There's a lot more that we can do offer wise to like get them back.
Well, let me ask about ads. It seems to me that in the times that we have tried to run offer ads to prospecting audiences and test them against existing winners, it's like it doesn't work. And it's like a pain. And it's hard to get them going and everything else. And so it's better to almost leave the top performers and keep iterating on that and not have the offer necessarily in the ad and be changing the site. What do you guys think about this? I mean, certainly we have offer ads that run to like on a capping basis to previous customers, or on a capped basis rather to previous customers, so they don't get blown up with like 5 of them a day. But how do you guys think about this, and what are you guys doing?
I think using the website, as you were saying, is probably the best way to do it, in my opinion. I mean, you can run a proper A/B test from the Facebook side and try to keep those separate, because if you're concerned about people seeing different offers, like and you're not using a proper A/B test, like people legit might see the different offers, which maybe isn't a concern to you. I'm personally kind of in the camp of, unless it's a specific promo period, I really try to not include the offer in the ad, which we will do it. I'm not saying we won't do it at all, but I like to build the ads very much like value driven for why you should buy the product, and allow the website to communicate the offer, which also makes it really flexible on the back end, where you can throw it. You can take let's call it, say you're using a landing page and the offer is really clearly communicated on there. You can throw it, you can duplicate that, throw it in IntelliGem, split the traffic, and let it rip, and allow that offer test to go through there. And that's much cleaner, in my opinion, than trying to force in an offer into the ads. You can, maybe once you have your winner, you can roll it out there, but I prefer to do it on the website side.
Yeah, we do a little bit of both. I mean, like there's always like the clear the funnel ads that rip, right? For your weekend sale period, stuff like that. But yeah, for us, I mean, this year has been such like a drive as much value as possible to the consumer. David talked about it on the pod. Like it is really relevant. Whoever can show the biggest discount, I think, is getting the attention of the consumer, which is could be really bad for your business. But that's where you have to be very intentional about the math and how it backs out, and like forcing AOV up crazy to actually unlock that big discount. Um, but for us, yeah, we usually do include it in them, but it can be a total pain point. We usually rock an up to percentage. So we've been running up to 40% off. Like I mentioned, we kind of made some adjustments to that recently, but it's still the same up to 40% off for the buy more, save more. So I think that that's where if you can create a really good evergreen offer that you can get then like play with the amount of units, then you don't have to really necessarily worry about having to turn off an ad that's ripping that now the discount is completely wrong for.
And there's one thing too, I just want to bring up like the legality of some of this. I follow that Rob Friend guy or whatever his name is on X, who's like the legal D2C guy. And he was talking about how there have been people getting hit by offer or, you know, consistently running a sale or whatever. Do you guys, what are the rules around that you guys are aware of that people need to be conscious of?
So this is not legal advice, but I would go talk to Rob. Like go talk to an attorney. That would be my first thing is go talk to them. They will get you course corrected first. He's probably the best one in D2C that has seen a lot of things and keeps an eye on it. Buy more, save more. Like I said earlier, evergreen, as long as it's not tied to a sale, good to go. I think as long as you're not running a sale period within a 90-day window and not changing prices, that is also good to go. Strike through prices is something that you have to be very cautious of like letting strike through priced products sit on your site for too long. I know there's like Rob posted some brands that got in trouble for that. Um, but I would definitely go, I don't know what is it Rob? I know that our team has reached out to him and hired him like once or twice to QA our stuff.
Rob is his
Do
first
you
name
know?
for sure.
Okay.
FREUND, maybe. I've tweeted at him all the time too. I feel like
Okay.
he's doing free pro bono DDC
Yeah.
Twitter advice often.
Got it. Yep. My Twitter search is horrible, so I can't find him right now. But I'm sure if you just search Rob FTC D2C, you'll find him. Um, that's where I would tell people to start, to be honest, because I think like there's so many weird
Yeah. A
nuances,
lot of
like time
nuance. Yeah,
gaps,
yeah.
a lot
There's
of
a lot of
time gap
stuff.
stuff that's
Yeah.
kind of odd,
Yeah.
all that. But I think, you know, there definitely are great ones that you can run on an evergreen basis and not have any issues with by FTC rules. So, but I would definitely run stuff by Rob or something like that. Spend the 250, spend the 500 an hour, whatever it is, do it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Definitely would highly recommend that. We have a lot of our clients do that now too.
So in closing, you know, offers are an acquisition lever and a margin tool, I would say, kind of wrapping up what we've said. I'd say the best offers are ones that feel like wins for the customer without killing your margin. And, you know, if you haven't, maybe pick one big swing to give a shot to and test it the next month. Any other closing thoughts on what we've talked about, Chance?
There's a couple things that I think are like worth just thinking about because it goes deeper than just like what is the price of the product. Oh, that's really important. And like what is the person getting? But it's like what is the person getting and like what does it mean to them from a value perspective? And how can you build the bundle that's phrased? So it's like the naming of the bundle matters. You know what? Just these are like small random things I've been thinking about throughout all of this. It's like the naming of the bundle can make a difference. You can think about the economies of scale as it relates to like shipping. Like when you start to get your AOV up, right? The benefit of Zach selling an extra couple pairs of socks means like shipping margin gets better relatively. So like you're actually opening up more margin in that way. So I think just like there's a bunch of different ways you can manipulate levers. Dave Recook, we probably mentioned him several times on this. He had a tweet from like 2023 that I think about all the time, where he was like, "Send me your business, and I'll send you an offer idea that's like margin accretive or something along those lines." And it was fantastic. He just rips through tons of ideas where like it's just things you don't think about that can really impact the offer. So there's a million different ways that you can craft an offer that can be meaningful. So you just got to pick and kind of commit and let it rip.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here. And yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, always feel free to let us know. Andrew at foxwelldigital.com. You can email me. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Spotify or iTunes, or rate us in any one of those places. We very greatly appreciate any sort of rating, it helps us continue to grow and get good information out there. So
Thanks, y'all.
See ya.
The only way that we grow this podcast is by you sharing it with your friends. Honestly, like reviews kind of don't really mean anything too much anymore. They're really meaningful, but they don't do a lot for the growth of the podcast. And so sharing YouTube links, sharing Spotify links, sharing Apple, whatever we call it under the podcast app now, anything you can share, the better we're going to be. Guys, anything else you want to say on this?
Yeah, please go check us out on YouTube. Rack up those views for us. We'd love to see it. And then subscribe. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube as well.
And I relentlessly refresh the YouTube comments because it dictates my mental health for the day. So please say something nice about all of us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you for listening, honestly.